Welcome to Shireen Conversations. I'm your host, Marjana Paravan. On today's episode, I am joined by Mina Khanaman, a civil engineer turned sound healer, reiki practitioner, sacred plant medicine herbalist, and holistic life coach. Mina created her company, Moksha Elements, after leaving her 10-year career in engineering to help others find their purpose and align with their authentic self. Mina shares with us how each of us has a specific gift, and when we learn to love ourselves and accept who we are, as we are, our potential is limitless. Hi, Mina June. Thank you so much for joining me today on Shading Conversations. How are you?
I'm good, love. Thank you. Thanks for having me. It means a lot.
Of course. I'm so
I'm
excited to
excited to.
to let everyone know how we actually got connected is my sisters, Roz and Niaz, connected us. And I think I told you this offline, that I was like, why didn't you tell me about Mina sooner? Like, she's the perfect person for this podcast. Everyone I've interviewed so far is the perfect person, but I feel like your story, which I can't wait for everyone to hear, is exactly the reason why this podcast was created. You know, for us as females, Iranians, whether we're first generation or moved here from Iran, similar to yourself, it's kind of learning and pivoting our way of who we are as a community, culture, what is accepted, what isn't accepted. So hearing your story it gave me chills, and I think I told you that.
Mm.
But I can't wait for everyone to hear. And to kind of start off the question, I want to start off from the beginning. So you moved from Iran at a very pivotal time in your life, at a time where most of us as adolescents are learning our footing in life, in our career, who our friends are, what we want to do in life, what are we going to do tomorrow. And you didn't just move from Iran to another city in Iran or another country nearby. You moved across the world into a completely
Mhm.
different country that spoke a different language. It is a melting pot of sorts, but speaking Farsi is very uncommon unless you're in that specific community. How was that for you in that time of your life to make that transition and move here and start your life?
Ooh, that's bringing back a lot of memories. So I moved to US when I was 11, and I didn't speak a word of English. And I moved to Orange County. So luckily, there was a lot of
That's
Persians,
true.
which I mean, luckily, and sometimes it's kind of brutal because they might not be the nicest because you're considered fob, and like you just came from Iran and you're not part of the group and all that good stuff. But it was a struggle. I mean, to be honest with you, it was a lot of struggles. I was in middle school. I had a couple close friends, but I really didn't fit in because I was fresh and I was, I didn't speak the language and I didn't fit in, and it was a lot of struggles. But that there's a lot of blessing in that too, because you grow a lot. You make new friends. You actually, like, I kind of drifted out of my comfort zone. I made some friends that were actually Mexican. They became my really good friends. They really helped me grow and step into this new culture of being in this melting pot of different cultures and with different languages. And then from there, I moved to high school. High school was a bit of a struggle too. I didn't know what I want to do with my future, and as an immigrant kid, something safe was always the best route to go. At first, I wanted to study law. I wanted to become a lawyer. That seemed like something that was safe, and I was very opinionated, and I wanted to do things with my life, and I always had a say some in different places. But I had a field trip to a court. I had an opportunity as a teenager to be in a courtroom and see the environment. And I remember it clearly, actually. um, it was not for me. I was super emotional there. It wasn't a clean environment. There was a lot of things that I didn't quite agreed with. Like, there was a criminal there, and there was a lot of things that wasn't super clear, as a young adult. And then I entered to high school, and I still wanted to do law. I took a political science class, and I realized how the system works, and I was I was like, okay, this is not for me. And being Persian, you go from law to either medical school or an engineer. So I picked engineering. So I started pursuing structural engineering as a career. And that's what I did for 4 years. I studied civil engineering. And from there, I don't know how far you want me to go with this
No, that's
conversation.
great. Actually, I think you actually got to a place that was perfect. It leads me directly to my next question. You firsthand understand the structures of our culture. Like you just said, it's
Yeah.
medical school, you're either a doctor, lawyer, or an engineer. That's really like what your parents or generationally they kind of instilled in your minds. I mean, there are
Hmm.
parents who not necessarily required that, but that's just the culture that we're a part of. And you said it perfectly. You first thought about doing law school, but you immersed yourself in courses and seeing yourself in real experiences. Is this for me? And then you landed on engineering or civil engineering. Um, did you feel because you had to grow up a little faster than most and coming to a new country, learning the language, kind of figuring out what your journey was going to be, did you feel like the pressures of our culture really told you to choose that safe route? And that's what was instilled in your mind and why you took that path? Or was there anything else that really helped shape you get there?
I think it was the pressure of growing up fast for sure. Like it was a calculated decision. Because I lost my dad when I was 7, and my mom moved to US, in pursuit of a better life when I was 9. And then we moved to US when I was 11. So by the time I made it to US, I was already like an adult. Like I was like,
Mhm.
okay, like I really need to take care of myself. And I started working when I was 14. So everything just kind of, it was like on a fast forward life experience. So by the time I was in college, I was like, okay, I need to choose something that's going to make me money and I'm going to get a job from it. And it just made sense. I mean, there was no pressure from the family. It
Mhm.
was more of a personal decision that, okay, as an 18-year-old, I don't think anybody really knows what they want to do with their life.
Yeah.
I always feel like the education system is so backward because now, like, I watch documentaries about physics or science, and I'm always fascinated by everything. But um, I had no idea. Those physics classes I passed, I was telling my partner the other day, I have no clue what I was doing in the class. So yeah, it was a personal choice, but it was a calculated choice that made sense at a time. And I have no regrets going through that because I feel like it gave me a good sense of discipline. It really disciplined me, and I actually carry that with me. I feel like I'm not just like pursuing a career because, oh, it sounds fun and it's very new age. And now it's like this makes sense, but I know I was capable of becoming an engineer. And now it's like, okay, I did that. I worked as an engineer. What do I want to do for the rest of my life? Do I really want to pursue this engineering career or not?
I think that's amazing. The thing you said perfectly, you knew you're capable of it. And I think that's one
Hmm.
thing I really want my listeners to really remember what you said, because it's really being confident in where you are. And I think that's what actually I mean, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but what could have led to your journey now. And speaking of that, I know you graduated as we spoke after like 18, you're like, this is what I'm going to do. You went to San Francisco State University and graduated in
Yeah.
2012, and you have a bachelor's in civil engineering. That's pretty much what you did. You were shy of 10 years, I believe, of being in that in that career in that field, and you left. And like you're about to get into, you left and you started this new business, Moksha Elements, which is fantastic. I can't wait for you to tell my audience exactly what you do and who you cater to, because you do retreats, you do gatherings, you're a holistic healer, you do Reiki. There's so much that goes into it, but it's such a like left field from what that kind of life you are going leading into engineering and turning into here, which is such a freeing. I can't speak for you and I can't wait for you to share, but it's such a freeing experience to say, this is what I'm doing to better myself, to make myself happy and make my journey in this world, in this lifetime, a better one. Can you explain to like my audience exactly what was a pivotal moment in your life that you're like, this is, this is when I need to, this is what I need to do. This is my purpose. And two, talk to us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, so this is where I'm more confident now. I so 2012 I graduated with a civil engineering degree, and looking for jobs, finally landed a job, and I start working, and really quickly I was like, I'm not in alignment with what I'm supposed to do with the rest of my life. I had an incredible job where they allowed me to work from home after just working as an engineer for a few years. And I still have an amazing relationship with my ex-boss, and he was so sweet, so friendly, and he actually accommodated all my requests. I, really quickly, so I knew I was not supposed to be an engineer. So I started exploring on what do I want to do for the rest of my life? Like, what does Mina want to do for the next 40 years, 50 years? And I started exploring real estate, and I was like, oh, okay, this is I was seeing it as escape route. I was seeing it as, what is it that's going to make me quick money so I'm retired by the time I'm 30? I don't know what the rush was, but that's what I was trying to do. I wanted to retire by the time I'm 30. And real estate wasn't the right route for me, and I realized it quick as well. I was like, okay, this is not for me, this is not in alignment, I'm still pushing myself. And then I just, in the between of trying to find what to do, I started on this beautiful self-healing journey. I started going to different classes, taking different workshops, doing sound bath classes, just exposing myself to different healers and stuff. And I started to see transformation really, really quick. I started to see myself shifting from my old patterns to new patterns within 6 months, and kind of got obsessed with the whole journey. And I realized how powerful this path is. And you're not necessarily defined by your traumas and who you used to be and what happened to you when you were 7, or what happened to you when you were 11, or what happened to you when you were 13. And the old stories, I really quickly realized, like, it's okay. Like, you can change your story at any point in your life. And that kind of became an obsession. I wanted to transmute my traumas, and I wanted to create new habits, and I wanted to just create new pathways in my brain, and become a new person. So all my 20s, I spent all my 20s on different healing modalities and different ways of exploring myself. And I believe it was 2018, I made the decision that I wanted to completely switch over, because I was always the friend that was a little extra, and I was sharing too much, and I was just like in everyone's face, and that was my natural way of being. And I always like was bothered by it. I was like, oh my God, why am I like this? And I realized this is my gift. This is why I'm here, to be a hand to other people, to be able to guide others through their path, because it was naturally coming to me. And I stepped into it in 2018. I slowly made the transition. I took different trainings. I spent a month in Guatemala doing a course on permaculture for herbalism path. I exposed myself to different retreats, and I was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to create sacred spaces for people. I want people to come to me, not necessarily to me, to the container I'm creating, and be open and take off their mask, because I feel like we live in a society that we're so masked up, with different social masks and different ways of being. So I want to create raw and real environments. So I quit my engineering job end of 2019. I planned for it, though. It didn't happen overnight. I planned for
Yeah.
it in 2 years, and it was very much calculated again, because my engineer mind was
I was about to
in
say, yeah.
charge. Yeah, it's crazy. And even when I quit, the right and the left side of the brain was battling for so long until I feel like I'm at a place that I'm at a balanced place where I can definitely create spaces without any trauma or any baggages.
No, and I think that's incredible because you said it. In 2019, I mean, this was like leading into where we were last year in COVID, it being a new business, being something new. I feel like what you've created, what did not exist before the COVID time. You know what I mean? The
Mhm.
COVID, like I say in my other interviews, was a blessing disguise. I don't know if that's the correct terminology, but it really brought people back to their purpose. What makes me happy
Mhm.
with the little amount of activities that we can do and put ourselves out there. Did that in any way, hinder your business in any way, especially because you had relied a lot on the in-person activities or the gatherings and retreats? Is there anything that you had to like shift in your business plan to make it work?
What's so interesting is, so when I was like approaching this business, and I was getting the calling that this is the path I'm supposed to take. I even told my partner, I told my close friends that supported me. I was always like, this is the way of the future. We're going back to our roots, and being in a tribal communities and being in communities. But my intention was always to create it in an online setting. So
Interesting.
when COVID happened, um, I'm at the beginning. I mean, beginning of 2020, I was a little confused because I just started my business, and it wasn't so much the COVID that was bothering me. It was just finding my own voice in the new platform I was trying to embody, and I didn't quite know like who I am, because as a new business, I feel like any business you create, you first start replicating other people that are doing the same thing as you are. And beginning of 2020, turking was everyone was turking in front of the camera, and I was like, oh my god, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? It's so interesting, like, because you don't know who you are in this new
Yeah.
platform, new ocean of opportunities. And you slowly, like, it took me a few months, definitely. I think it was probably last May where I was finally at a place of like knowing what I want to do and who is the audience I'm trying to attract. And this type of work is it's very intentional. You can't fake this type of work.
It's
You
true.
have to be very authentic, because you're playing with you're playing with energy. You're playing with um, something beyond what we're seeing. So it's not a face you're putting on, or you're not pretending to be spiritual, which we see a lot of that nowadays, which I'm not judging or anything, but it's a new trend right now. And I went through a big phase of questioning myself, is this just a phase I'm going through or not? And the more I am in service, the more I realize I see result, the more I see transformation, and the more I realize, no, this is my path. This is why I'm here, and this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. But to answer your question, COVID was definitely a blessing, not only for my business, but also collectively. I saw it from the beginning that this was as hard as it was going to be. It was a blessing that was supposed to happen to humanity, to make us more resilient, and also to create to quiet down the noise, so we can go inward to kind of do a little bit of self exploration of who we are. And with the masks being lifted now, we're taking off the mask. And
Literally, the literal ones that we can see.
yeah, so it's a very interesting time. My yoga teacher Viveka, she's been my biggest mentor for the past 10 years. I was actually in a class with her, and she was mentioning that be super gentle with yourself with this transition, because we're socializing again, we're exposing ourselves and exposing our energy and aura to other people again. Everyone is coming
Yeah.
into our field. So it's so important to like slowly go back to this transition, and be mindful about it, because I mean, a year and a half of being isolated, I think it's very important for people to take some time to see what happened, before rushing back into the old ways of being.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. It's being mindful. It's what's the rush? Kind of like back to your, I want to retire by 30, but what was my rush? It's like we need to, you said it perfectly, the quiet, the noise, get back to the root. It's, you were saying earlier how people put on masks and layers to of who they wanted to be perceived as to communities and people. But what you're doing is allowing people to peel off the layers and go inside of themselves. So as we know, we always say beauty is on the inside. And I'm not speaking specifically to beauty, but we don't realize that so much of it is from the core of us that's
Hmm.
protrude and put out there for other people to see. And with that being said, what is your hopes for your company, your business? What are your hopes for those that, immerse themselves within the practices that you're sharing or the gatherings you're doing? What is it that you hope they get out of their transformational journey working with you?
My hope is one thing and one thing only, is for every individual that comes to my gatherings and to my retreats and my, any interaction we have, is to be able to tap into their authentic selves, because I feel like every single one of us is gifted with something that's only ours. And I truly believe that, because I'm a very loud, outspoken person, and I can intimidate people. And I always like remind the quiet ones that that's your gift. This is why you're here. You're supposed to be the quiet one, and be that energy of like quiet. And it's, everyone has a gift. I
Mhm.
truly believe that. Like, only if we love ourselves just as we are, because we're so caught up in changing ourselves to fit into the society and being a certain way to be accepted and loved. But whereas only if we could just love who we are as we are, I feel like then we're going to blossom into so much more. And that's my only hope for every interaction, every coaching I do, is for people to just fully embody who they are as an individual.
I love that. I keep saying, I always say, I feel like if there's someone that can take my recordings, they'll piece together every time I say, I love that. But I truly do. It's so simple, but it's not. We've been adapted to things and making things difficult and complicated. And it's truly shouldn't be about that. And I think what's even better about that, it lends me to my last question is there any advice that you could give to the people listening to this episode, if they're at a crossroads in their life, whether they are in a career that they just cannot stand, but it's making them a lot of money and they're like having this battle in their mind, like, do I leave it, do I not, to start a business that they truly love like you did, or passion project, is there anything that you can give them as a piece of advice to kind of share with them that what they're thinking and doing is always going to lead them to the path that is meant for them?
Yeah, honestly, I once we tap into our authentic selves, there is so much opportunity there. We're so programmed to chase the money, and that brings me back to retiring by the time I'm 30.
Mhm.
What I realized when I quit my job and transitioned over, I realized the reason I wanted to retire by the time I'm 30 wasn't so much the money. At first it was, and then I realized, no, I want to be aligned by the time I'm 30. So, for anyone that wants to quit their job and pursue a dream, I would say reconnect with yourself. If you reconnect with yourself and find your gifts, let it be cooking or creating, painting, or something so simple. If you just reconnect to who you truly are, there's so much opportunity there. There's so much opportunity there. Only if you could just be in your own field, be in your own energy, and not be distracted by who's doing what is this person doing, this one is succeeding. No, just completely bring your attention inward, because once you go inward, you can heal everything and you can go back to your true self. So it all starts here. And that's what Moksha Elements is. Moksha means nirvana, liberation, freedom. And I always say at the end of my workshops that liberation, freedom, all of that starts here. So go within and you will find all the answers. As hard as it is, because it's so easy to put the lens outside.
Sure.
This is the hard part.
No, that's a great way of saying it, and I agree. I mean, a lot of us, I think, with COVID happening, either we were, some people were laid off, some people, decided this is not for me anymore. They had to transition to working from home. They really, like you said, had to be forced to align with themselves. Like, is this
Mhm.
really my calling? Is this what I want to do? Is this what makes me happy? And the work that you're doing is incredible. And for those listening, I want you to know, one, follow your Instagram, Moksha Elements. I'm going to put it on my screen as well as look on your website, because there's so many services that you do outside of the gatherings or workshops, coaching you do, Reiki. There's so much. I just want everyone to know everything that you offer. So please make sure you visit Mina's website. It's mokshaelements.com. I will make sure to put that on the screen for the episode. But Mina June, thank you so much. Is there anything else that we didn't touch on that you'd like to include in this conversation?
Um, I mean, I'm always here for anybody that's interested, and if they need anything, they know where to find me. And if if anyone is interested to work with plant medicines, I also offer retreats that include plant medicines, and they want to tap into their psychic and they want to just really truly understand who they are as an individual. I'm always here to hold space.
For more inspiring interviews, head on over to shireenconversations.com. If you like today's show, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Podcasts. And don't forget to rate and review, and follow on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Shireen Conversations. You can also watch episodes on YouTube. I'm Majina Paravan, and you've been listening to Shireen Conversations. Thank you.